Salutations, my brother.
Greetings and salutations, brother.
Good day, family. Good to be here, bro.
Well, great to be here, man. Great to be here with you, brother. To see your face, to hear your voice, and to just be in your energy field, brother. This is awesome.
Likewise, brother. Pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, man. And just let me know, just for the record, so I know how to pronounce it. How do you say your name? What do your friends call you?
Call me Ash.
It's just Ash.
Ash Legions, but yeah, call me Ash.
Okay. And with the Ash Legions, what is that in combination? Ash Legions. What is the meaning of that?
So it's kind of like a wordplay on my birth name being Ashley. So it's kind of like a higher octave of that. So I've just changed the Lee to Legions. Kind of like my initiation name.
I like it. I like it. So it's like your birth name, Ashley. You said Ash Legions. Like we are
Yes,
legions.
sir. Yes, sir.
Wow. That's awesome, brother Ash, brother Ash. That's awesome, man. And just let people know, where are you coming from today? Like, where are you in the world?
So I'm currently based in Hurghada in Egypt.
Okay.
So I'm literally right on the edge of the Red Sea.
Oh my gosh. I've never been to Egypt yet. So Egypt is still on my list. I haven't yet crossed it off my list to go to Egypt. But right, you said on the edge of the Red Sea, you said?
Yeah, literally, bro. The Red Sea is just literally 2 minutes behind my building here.
Bro, that's biblical.
Stunning.
That's biblical. That's biblical, brother. Part of the Red Sea. I see Moses just
You
now.
know it, bro.
I had a vision just now, the promised land. I see Moses
Yes,
with the
sir.
staff and the burning bush and parting the Red Sea. I'm like, yo, this man is in this biblical region. When did you, I mean, have you always been in Egypt, or did you move to Egypt? How did you get there?
I relocated over here last year, June. So it's coming up to about a year that I've been out here now.
Okay.
Previously, originally from London. Yeah, had to get out of the UK, man. It just wasn't for the path. It wasn't the environment was too harsh for me, just in terms of the weather, first and foremost, lack of sun, freezing cold, dark, and yeah, it just wasn't in alignment with the path that I'm on. I couldn't flourish and thrive in such an environment, you know?
Wow.
So over here, very grateful, under the sun every day, under the stars at night, can't complain.
Wow. Wow, brother. Thank you for your honesty. Just right off the bat, like, I appreciate you just being forthcoming and transparent about, where you were, where you came up, the origin story, your beginnings in London, beginning in the UK, beginning in London, and saying, like, you've heard them say, Ash, that, if you want a plant to thrive, you don't change the plant, you change the environment.
Yes, sir.
You change the
Yes, sir.
environment. So you move the plant to another soil or another environment that's going to be, more conducive for the conductivity, for the life of the plant itself, so it can, not just survive, but to thrive. You want it to thrive in a new environment. So can you?
And that's what we're here to do, bro. We're not here just to survive, just to scrape by and just get through. We're here to flourish and to thrive and just to, we've only got one shot at this, yes, we know that consciousness never really dies. It just changes state. But, let's keep it simple. We've got one life, one shot at it. We're here to get the most out of it. And that wasn't happening for me in the UK. So, yeah, I'm in a very fortunate position now to be where I am geographically. It's definitely, what's the word? It's definitely pushed all of my practices forward in terms of like the breatharianism, the sun gazing, the grounding, the meditation, just from the change of environment. The advancement over here in such a short period of time. It's been revolutionary, bro. So I'm very grateful.
Beautiful. Man, that sounds like a revelation, you know?
It's
That
facts,
sounds,
bro.
we getting biblical. This sounds like revelations, you know? This is
Bro,
revelations
we're
right
in
here.
biblical times, bro. Bro, very biblical times right now, as you know.
Oh my gosh. We're going to get into it because, Brother Ash, what you just said is so important. It's so key. And I believe it's also, you know, philosophically been so debated throughout time, you know, throughout the ages and the great sages and all of the stages of humanity. People have talked about, I mean, you know, one of my favorite artists in the past, his name was well, his name is Pharrell. He's still alive. Pharrell Williams. So
Hmm.
Pharrell Williams, he had a band, and his group name is called Nerd. And not a lot of people know, but Nerd is actually an acronym. And what it stands for is no one ever really dies, you know? And so that's the acronym, no one ever really dies. And yet, you know, I don't remember being here before I was. You know, people talk about past lives all the time, whereas one of my favorite quotes, you know, one of my favorite quotations that I really follow and I really live my life by, which is what you just said, is that we each have two lives, and our second life begins when we realize we only have one.
Yeah.
You know, we only have
Oh,
one. So we can understand, you know, yeah, okay, we get, you know, that energy is not created or destroyed. It simply changes form from one to the next. But for now, right here in this present moment, this is all I know. You know, this is all I
exactly.
have. Yeah.
Yeah, simple as that, bro.
Yeah. So
So
I
yeah,
really
we're here now.
enjoy your
We
perspective. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just adding on to that. You know, we're here. We need to embrace the present, and we really need to, as a collective, start optimizing and really tapping in and exploring the full potential of the human being, which, you know, I'm only recently kind of looking into your work now, like properly. I came across you a few years ago, but it's only now I'm really tapping into your work, and you're great kind of, you're leading the way in kind of demonstrating what the human being is all about. Because what we've been led to believe, the conditioning and the programming, that the human being is just this, you know, just this body, you know, flesh, very physical being. We're far superior to that, you know, and the ages that we're in now, we're going to see great transformation within the human being. And Breatharianism is a major aspect of the, as to, of who we are, you know, the
I
full
agree.
potential.
For sure. For sure. I definitely agree, brother. You know, because when you come upon this knowledge, or just, you know, you're hit by a new wavelength or a new frequency or just a new broadband energy connection of, you know, the reflection of what they call breatharianism, you know, breath and air, you know, just breath, air, combining like this breatharian, like just to understand that we are a living, walking, talking, breathing ball of energy that is breathing in prana, you know, all the time. When did you come to that awareness? When did you hear the word breatharian? Was it back when you were in London? Was it in Egypt? Like when did you happen upon this awareness?
That's a good question. It's been, it's been in my reality for for a long time. I can't put my finger on it, but it's been maybe like 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. But I think over the last, for me, when I really started to tap in to the breatharian nature of the human being, was back in the spring of 2020, when, you know, all of that drama was going on. Everybody was locked down at home. So I'm going out to the parks. I've got the whole park to
Mm-hmm.
myself. And that's when I really tapped into the breath work. So yeah, that's when my breathwork journey started. And that's when I started looking more into the breatharian path.
Wow, brother. Same time. We were around the same time. Same time
Wow.
because I only started it's crazy synchronistic. This is very, synchronistic because I only started fasting in like the towards the end of 2019, like the middle to the end of that year, and then it was the following year, 2020, that was when I did my first pranic retreat, my first Breatharian retreat. So I didn't know anything before 28 years of my life. For 28 years of my life, I never heard the word breatharian. I never heard the word liquidarian. I never heard these words. Like these were not in my lexicon. This was not in my vocabulary, my vernacular. I did not know anything so spectacular as, just breathing and just thriving, and just high vibing on air. I didn't even know that was viable. I didn't know that was an option. So,
Imagine.
man, in the heart of London. So you're in London during this time, right? 2020?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what were some of the circumstances? I know you said that that wasn't really the environment for you, but while you were going through that environment during that time, especially during, the pandemic, of course, people are putting on masks, people are worried, all this stuff, they're worried about everything that's airborne and they don't want to, 6 feet, stay away from me, stand away from me. And Ash, you're going to the park. You said you started breathing, was this like something within your spirit, something in your soul that just got you over there? Or were you kind of guided in this direction through a series of fortunate events? Like what were the trail of breadcrumbs, the domino effect that led you there?
I think it was definitely an inner guidance guiding me towards it. I think that it was just time to start with that practice, time to put it with all the other practices. Prior to the breath work, I've been doing, I've been grounding for years, fasting, what else? Martial arts, Tai Chi. So yeah, it was just, it was the right moment, to incorporate it into the rest of the practices.
Okay.
So it was definitely, yeah, definitely something within me pushing me towards it to get on with it now.
Okay. So just
Mm.
an inner motivation, an inner inspiration, like just inner. It was on the
Yes.
inside, like pushing you. It was like almost propelling you towards something different, like a new vibration, a new frequency, a new wavelength, because, they talk about to be inspired is to be in spirit, you know? You're
It's
in.
all there in the words, bro. Everything is hidden in the words. I say to people, look at the words, talk to the words, ask them what they mean because they're alive. Yeah. And there's so many meanings, hidden meanings within a word.
Mhm.
So yeah, bro, spot on.
That's a word. That's a word, We even had a saying back in the day. I mean, they still say it in some places now, but on the street they'd be like word, like word life, like word, like just
You see what
as
I'm
a
saying?
form of affirmation. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in the word. There's power in the word. So, man, did you have anybody around you, Brother Ash, at that time in London? Did you have anybody else around you that was on that same page, that was on that same wavelength, or on that same frequency during that time?
Yeah, so my close brother Nestor and my friend Sydney. So when I used to finish training with them, we go to the bars, do some calisthenics, some pull-ups and everything, stretch out afterwards, and then hit the breath work.
Mm.
It was just like the perfect kind of package, a bit of resistance and strength training, stretch out afterwards. Now the body's prime and prepped,
Mm.
including the meridians in the body, now it's time to hit the breath work.
Okay.
And yeah, we really got, I say to people, from my experience with my friends doing breath work with them, I say to people, if you really want to build a, a deep connection with someone, yeah, forget going out to restaurants and eating. Eating food is so boring. Yeah, it's so boring. Go and do some breath work with someone Yeah, sit down, share space with them, do some, do some yoga, prep the body, and then sit down and do some breath work with them. It's a whole different relationship that you form with people.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I
Yeah.
agree. Because first of all, it's very ironic. I love that your friend, his name is Nestor. Nestor, because somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe somebody in the comment section, but I believe there's a popular James Nestor. I think his name is James Nestor, who wrote the book on breathing. There's like a famous book on breath, and his name is James Nestor. I think, if I'm not wrong.
No way.
Yeah, like
Wow.
somebody in the comments can correct me if I'm not wrong, but I believe his name is Nestor, and he's big on breathwork. So that's amazing, bro. Like, can you break down, why do you feel like that is such a holy or sacred connection when you're with somebody, to just breathing, like the vibration of respiration, the inhalation and exhalation, and that it goes further than any conversation, because I mean, usually, food is very communal for a lot of people in a lot of countries, a lot of cultures, a lot of continents, a lot of customs. They have to have a plate in between them. They feel like, oh, hey, let's go grab a bite. Hey, you want to go grab something? Hey, let's go get a bite. Let's go get something. Let's go have something. Hey, you want to get something? It's always like, let's go have, like, it's me and you and, the plate in between us. Before we connect, we have to have something in between. So
A
why do you feel like
middleman.
the breath, yeah, is just beyond that?
Because when we're tapping into the breath, we're kind of leaving the physical material world behind. We're going beyond flesh now. We're going into spirit. We're tapping into the respiratory system, the respiratory system. The word spirit comes from the word spiritus, which means breath. It's a true spiritual, meaningful connection. Those spiritual practices like that, they've got way more meaning and depth and sustenance than I mean, come on. I've sat down with people before and had a meal with them and had a good time. But in comparison to hitting the breath work with somebody, it's a whole different level. And then after the breath work, you're just sitting in that vibration and that stillness and the silence. After the breath work, you're just sitting in that meditation, and you're both just tapped in, and there's just this beautiful state of bliss. And yeah, it's awesome, bro. I mean, it's great when you're alone, but if you can share that experience with somebody else as well, I mean, it's a whole different level, bro.
It is.
It
is. It is. It's very intimate. I've definitely
That's the
shared
word.
it. Yeah, I've shared it with people in the past, and it's on a whole nother level. Just like you say, Brother Ash, it's a whole nother level of intimacy. You're sharing the breath. Like, even when I play my flute, I play the flute. So I play the shakuhachi. It's a Japanese bamboo flute. And a lot of
Yes.
people, without really understanding it, they just thank me, when I come by and I play my flute outside in different places. They're like, thank you for sharing your piece, thank you for sharing the breath. And one day somebody was telling me, he said, hey, Jerome, the breath is life,
Mm,
so
yep.
you're not just playing music, we're not just listening to music, we're listening to your life, because
Mm.
we're listening to your breath. Your breath is life. So we're here. You know what I'm saying? So I was like,
So you're telling a whole story whilst you're playing that flute. You're telling a whole story, not your whole entire deep, bro.
so I mean,
Deep,
yeah,
deep.
like, that's so deep. When you're breathing with somebody, it's like you're sharing your life with each other. Literally, literally,
Mm,
you are sharing your life. What keeps you here, what keeps you in this reality. I mean, we
facts,
see
bro.
it so many times. I've been to many funerals, I've been to places, and you also hear people, before their loved ones, before their their family members, or their friends pass away, you know, you always hear Ash like, we were with her till her very last breath, you
Yep.
know? Like we stayed with her till her last breath. And it's like the breath is gone and the body's still there, like the flesh is still there, but the breath is elsewhere. The breath is gone. So, I mean, the breath is so key. I mean, it really is. It's everything. It's everything. So, I mean, Jesus, you know, when you're talking about this stuff and these concepts, I mean, for a lot of people, it's just so revolutionary just to hear about something that we're doing all the time unconsciously, and then to do it with intention and with our conscious awareness, it just brings a whole nother level of just sacredness to the activity. Yeah.
100%, bro. And when we're taking it as, you know, when breath work is, we're training the breath, you know, pranayama, breath discipline, breath work. So doing it, breathing unconsciously to then actually schedule it into your day as some sort of training, you know, it's serious stuff. You're amplifying and empowering your breath. You know, it's once people tap into it, they'll realize, oh man, this is what I've been missing out on. Yeah, this is why these guys have been talking about it for so long. It's serious stuff, bro. Very empowering.
Yeah.
You know, it's way more empowering than you know, all of these recreational drugs and alcohol. Those are very destructive. Those are short-term things that we use to escape traumas and things like that. Whereas the breath actually heals. Yeah, it unblocks traumas. Yeah, it eliminates traumas and pains within the body. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yes. Yeah.
we're going to see more of a return of people returning to the breath and these sciences and practices, which they're all free. Do you know what I'm saying? Breath work's free, meditation's free, grounding's free, sun gazing's free. Cold showers are much more efficient and cost a lot less than a hot shower, you know, and they all empower us, yeah, and extend our lifespan. Bro, I'm all about vitality and longevity and eternity. My closest brothers, yeah, when they see this, they will tell people, I've been saying that I've got 1,000 years of life left in me. I've been saying that for like 15 years, bro. Yeah. I've been saying that for 15 years. And the more that I tap into this path of the breatharian and the dry fasting, the human body has got no reason to perish at 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years of age. Yeah, it's an abomination and blasphemy to leave this world at such a young age. Yeah, so whoever's watching, whoever this video reaches, if you've lost someone who's passed away at such a young age, which we all have, yeah, we're here to honor them by extending our lifespan. Yeah, we honor the fallen and those that we have lost, yeah, by living a longer life. Yeah, by optimizing our health. Yeah, the human body is the most advanced creation ever. Yeah, all creations in our material world, physical world, whether it's the computer, whether it's the door hinge, the camera, they're all based on the human body. Yeah,
All of them.
every single creation. Yeah, this is the most advanced technology. You cannot compete with it. So I say all of that to say we must preserve this temple. Yeah, we must look after this machine. Yeah, this technology needs constant upgrading and looking after. Yeah, and we can make it go on for a very long time.
Absolutely. Absolutely, brother. I agree wholeheartedly. You know, brother Ash,
Facts,
like
bro.
everything you say, even people right now, you see just all the hearts going up, the comment section, everybody's saying you're speaking
Facts,
truth,
bro.
you know, just speaking truth and just power, you know, because in the spirit, and I just appreciate you for touching on the honoring, you know, not just honoring of the ancestors, you know, who came before, but even the people today, like honoring the breath is honoring the life and honoring the being and honoring just this body, you know, this machinery, this advanced technology that every other technology is modeled after our technology, you know? So
Facts,
I would love to
facts.
hear just what you have to say about Malachi Brooks. I know there's a Malachi Brooks that passed, I don't know how many years ago, but can you talk about him if you're okay with it?
So Malachi is my best friend, closest brother. It's his younger brother who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. He he was walking home with his girlfriend. A car pulled up on him, and you know they jumped out and stabbed him up, stabbed him to death, stabbed him 18 times in front of his girlfriend, and yeah, died on the road.
Jesus.
You know, never once. He didn't have a bad bone in his body. You know, most beautiful. I've known him his whole life. Beautiful man, always smiling, always laughing. Wouldn't hurt anyone. Never gang affiliated. You know, yeah. Grew up in a gangland. Essentially, grew up in gangland, but wasn't involved in any of that. And then yeah, bro. You know, wrong place, wrong time. You know, completely innocent, bro. Took his life.
And this happened in London.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so you're saying they just pulled up and they got out of the car and they did this to him and his girlfriend, or him in front of his girlfriend?
Him in front of his girlfriend.
In front of his girlfriend, and then they just left. Jesus Christ. Okay, so I've never been, you know, like I said, I've never been to London. I've only heard stories. So, I mean, what is it about, is it true that like guns are not prevalent, but like handheld weapons are more prevalent? Is that the thing in London?
Bro, guns are prevalent.
Okay,
Yeah,
so guns are prevalent,
guns are
but there's no
prevalent.
rule against certain weaponry.
Sorry, say that again.
There's no rules against certain weaponry, in London specifically, you see more killings like that. You see more murders like that with stabbings. Like you when you said 18 times, and he wasn't even gang affiliated. Like
Not at
that's
all, bro.
insane. That's crazy.
Completely innocent.
So
It's just one
what?
of those things, you know. Wrong place, wrong time. Obviously, the the people that stabbed him, they're from one area. They've come to another area looking for gang members in that area. Obviously, they see a young man at night in that area. So, you know, without question, you know, they just targeted him as him being affiliated with the gangs in that
I
area.
see. I see. So it was just a bad time. It was like in the middle of the night, bad time. What did it do for you, Ash? Like what did it do to you? How did it I mean, how did that change you when you heard about that? When you first got the news, how did that affect you?
Do you know what, bro? Even up until now, it still it still doesn't even seem real. Like so Malachi's older brother, my childhood friend, uh, Deebs, he comes from a family of there's 8 of them. Wait, hang on. Oh, him, mean. Yeah, eight
Big family.
siblings. So for Malachi to be gone now, it still doesn't make sense. If that makes sense, it's like there's so many of them of these siblings. For Malachi to be missing, I still can't. Yeah, bro, I can't really find the words for it.
Okay.
It doesn't make sense, bro.
How did you cope with it? Like how did you, because you said it was 7 years ago? So
Yeah.
how were you able to like keep going, like even knowing that it was just a heinous act that just happened out of nowhere? No one could have perceived it. Like no one could have seen it coming. How were you able to keep going?
To be honest, bro, my Malachi's older brother, Deebs, yeah, my friend, just watching his strength and his courage through the whole thing. When it happened, DB at the time, he was in Australia, living in Australia with his girlfriend. So he's flown back from Australia to London, yeah, to set up a GoFundMe to get the money to bury Malachi, and then has flown back. So, you know, watching him throughout the years, seeing his continuous strength and courage and transformation and resilience and tenacity. I think if he wasn't who he was, it would have affected me a lot different. But seeing his strength, seeing him not break. I mean, I know that he's had his hard times behind closed doors in private, but in general, you know, how he appears to the world and how he presents himself, yeah, solid. And he's been solid from when we were kids, bro. Yeah, from when we were kids, solid from day one. So yeah, to answer your question, you know, it's something I've never really thought about, but you know, you asking the question now, I think that, yeah, seeing his strength and how he's coped with it, it's really been a big inspiration to me. Yeah, even before Malachi left, you know, Deebs has always been a big inspiration to me.
Wow.
But yeah,
Wow.
man.
Thank you for that. And thank you for that reflection, man. Shout out to Deebs, you know.
Pleasure,
Shout out to
bro.
Deebs.
Thank you, bro. And you know, thank you for even bringing up Malachi in conversation, bro. You know, that's something I wasn't expecting. So I appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Absolutely. You know, that's the first thing that I seen, like when I went to your video, you know, when I seen your video on 100 days. I mean, no, not 100 days, 100 hours. 100 hours.
100 days soon, bro. Yeah, we're loading up that one. Yeah, 100 days soon. That one's loading.
It's locked and loaded. Yeah. When I seen when I seen the 100-hour, you know, dry fast, you know, when you were air
Right,
fasting for 4 days in a row, one of the biggest significant things that I saw was the picture that you showed of Malachi Brooks.
right.
And so, you know, you even had the song in the background, like I Miss You, you know, and I remember that song, and I just it gave me memories of people that have passed and that people that are gone in my life now. I mean, there's a good
Mm.
few. There's a good few people in my life that are no longer here, and they went
Yes,
way
sir.
too young. You know,
Yep.
like we're talking like, I mean, in their early 20s, some even younger. Like it's crazy. So,
Tragic.
you know, when you're looking at his brother, it makes a lot of sense that you were able to say for Deebs, you know, okay, if his brother is not broken, you know, then I can keep going. You know, if he has
Facts.
resilience, I can find it. I can find it within me. If he found it within himself, and that's his brother, that's his blood, you
Yep.
know, I can find
Yep.
it.
That's right, bro.
Man, brother, thank you for that. So, you know, can you talk about, you know, that remembrance day? Because you did 4 days, no food, no water. And I love how you just, the way that you preface it, you're like, 100 hours, 4 days, no food, 4 days, no water, you
Yeah.
know, and you're just breaking it down and letting people know it's possible. So can you talk about that experience for you? What was that like for you? Did you do a lot of fasting like that in the past, or are these like the beginnings of this deep fasting where you're just going long periods without anything at all?
So the 100-hour fast, that's the longest that I've ever done. However, it's not every month I will do 2 periods of a 2.5-day dry fast.
Okay.
So something that you're aware of, as well as your community, every month when the sun enters, when the moon enters our sun sign, a physiological internal regeneration will take place to do with so George W. Carey, in his book, God, Man, Word Made Flesh, he describes that in the solar plexus, he describes it as a psycho-spiritual germ seed is born within this plexus every 28 days when the moon enters your sun sign. So for me, every month when the moon enters Scorpio, this regeneration process will take place of renewing the blood, renewing the cerebral spinal fluid, which we refer to as the sacred secretion, and amrita, nectar, food of the gods. So I discovered this through Santos Bonacci probably 5 years ago in one of his videos. He just says that, you know, during this sacred secretion time, he likes to fast. And as soon as he said that, he left it as that. He didn't even expand on it anymore. As soon as he said that, I was like, yeah, bang, I'm taking that one as well. It makes so much sense. So, yeah, every month for the last, maybe like, I was fasting prior to that, but I didn't really know what I was doing. You know, 6-7 years ago, I would fast for a day or 2 days, and then there was a restaurant in West London at the time that did a vegan buffet. It was a vegan restaurant. So I would fast for 2 days and then go and eat a big vegan buffet, very dense chickpeas, potatoes, rice. I used to come out of there like that. It was. Do you know what I'm saying, bro? Like just head spinning all over the place, just feeling awful. Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing back then. But yeah, in the more recent years.
Yeah, it's just straight from the fast to the buffet. Just straight to the buffet. Just, oh man. Yeah.
Bro, those times, you know, whatever job I was working, I would always have a van. So as soon as I'm finishing work, my foot is on the gas. Yeah, I'm in the van, yeah, heading from like one part of London all the way over to West London, making sure that I get there before it finishes, and then just packing out my belly, just, yeah, bro, nightmare, bro. Not good. Yeah, anyone that's listening, yeah, I just want to throw this out there. When you start, even these days, we have to really pay attention to it. When you fast, what you're doing is you are disciplining your senses, and you're disciplining the mind during that time of fast. Be mindful when you break fast, the senses and the mind is going to they're going to try and take back control, and they're going to tell you that you need all kinds of food and eat. Yeah, it's happened to me so many times where I break a fast and it's like, bro, you don't need all that food. Yeah, it's awful.
Oh man.
Back to the so yeah, every month for the last 4 years, I will fast for the 60-hour, 2.5-day period of the moon in Scorpio. However, moving out to Egypt last year, bro, my fasting has just gone from strength to strength. So I used to fast once a month for the 2.5 days of the moon in Scorpio. Then my intuition stepped in and said, you need to up it now. You need to do a 24-hour dry fast once a week. Yeah. On that day as well, every Monday, you know, enemas. I'll do an enema first, do some breath work, grounding, sun gazing. And then, you know, a couple months after that, my intuition told me, why don't you fast whilst the moon is in Virgo as well? Virgo is my moon sign. So I'll do a 2.5-day fast with the moon in Virgo. Then I'll eat for the next 2.5 days with the moon in Libra. And then after that, when the moon's back in Scorpio, I'll do another 2.5-day fast. And then on top of that, even more recently in the last couple of months, now how I like to eat in general is 1 day on, 1 day off, 1 day on, 1 day off. On the off days, 24-hour dry fast. And then obviously twice a month, I'll still do the Virgo moon and the Scorpio moon fasts.
Wow, that's powerful.
Bro, I say all of that to say environment plays such a, it's major. If anyone wants to really kind of step into their spiritual practices even more, you need to be in a environment. Number one, you need sun, you need fresh air. You can't be breatharian if you're in polluted air. And I've just finished, I know you probably read it as well, Man's Higher Consciousness, Professor Hilton Holtema.
Yes.
Bro, literally just finished reading that maybe like 2 weeks ago, bro. And yeah, the shift that's taken place, massive.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for touching on all these points, Brother Ash, because, you know, that book is one of the ones that changed my life forever. You know, when I read Professor Hilton Hotema's Man's Higher Consciousness, it was like, you can't go back. Once you've like absorbed that, there was no going back.
Yeah. How long ago did you read it?
This was back in those days. Like, this was back in 2020, early 2020, late 2019. Wow. So that's when the book came into my possession. And when I was learning about all this stuff, and I was learning about, you know, he talked about elimination is more important than feeding. You know, elimination is more important than eating, and how you were talking about like the enemas and like getting the stuff out versus always consuming and putting all that stuff in. You're more concerned about getting this stuff out, like getting out the impurities and all of the things that really hold back, you know, the energy that we could have in abundance, we could be feeling already, since we're energy already. You know, if we don't block the energy that's already there, then you can't stop the energy. If you don't block the energy, you can't stop the energy, right? So
simple.
I mean, geez, when you're talking about this, brother, because I mean, it's beautiful to hear you come to these revelations and realizations. And at the same time, one of the things that I love about you, Brother Ash, is you will hear a bit of information, like you'll get a download or somebody will drop in a light code and you'll be like you'll just take off with it. You know, it's like as soon as it hits your intuition, you know, your gut guidance, your gut instincts are telling you, yes, they're giving you a affirmative. You're like, okay, let's do it. You know, you don't question it. You don't say like, you know, maybe like, let me do more research. Definitely. You were like, no, it hit my spirit. I had to hear it. It hit my spirit. Let's go. You know?
Bro, 100, bro. I don't sit on information, bro. Yeah. People think that knowledge is power. Knowledge isn't power if you don't apply it. Yeah. The application of knowledge is the power. And through applying the knowledge, that is how we develop the wisdom. Yeah. People use the words knowledge and wisdom interchangeably like they're the same thing. Knowledge is the information. What we do with the information is the wisdom. Yeah. So, yeah, bro, I don't sit on information. Yeah. If something comes into my reality and it resonates with me and it makes sense, I'm applying that, bro. Yeah. And not just once or twice or a little bit. Yeah. I'm going to do it like religiously and obsessively, which all traits of Scorpio, you know.
Yeah. I'm a Scorpio myself. You know?
I just see it. Yeah. I see it in one of your stories just now, bro. Salute.
I'm a Scorpio myself, so I definitely know, you know, we can definitely be seen as extreme. You know, we can be on the extreme side of things when it comes to just how hard we're able to go, you know, with what speaks to us, with what speaks to the soul. And just as you were speaking, Brother Ash, we had a question for you.
Yes.
So Lucy is asking you, how different did you feel from other fasts you did not on the moon in your sign? So she's asking, like, what were the differences that you felt from the other fast you did not on the moon in Scorpio?
Right. So when the moon is in Scorpio, that some really, during that fast is when, so as I said, that is when this process takes place with the germ seed and the cerebral spinal fluid, the sacred secretion. Can I physically feel that process taking place? No. But what confirms to me that it is taking place is the events that take place in my external world. So, for example, the universe will communicate to me through the number 4. I'll see 4 everywhere. Every time I pick up my phone, it will be on the 44th minute past the hour. I will see that for every hour of the day, 44 minutes. I'll see 444, 444, every single where that everywhere that I turn. Also as well, I have a lot of animals that bring me messages. So, you know, animals will cross my path to bring me a message. Bro, especially back in the UK, you know, doing like delivery work at night, 3, 4 in the morning in the countryside, I will have like owls cross my path, bats, badgers, deers. I'm talking about pitch black country lanes I'm driving. A big deer will run out from one side of the road straight across the van, missing it by inches. And I know what's going on. That's the universe sending me messages through the animals. So to bring it back around, those are the events that will take place during the fast of the Scorpio moon. During the days of like the 24-hour dry fasts, those are like Breatharian training days where I don't really, how can I describe it? They're not really as profound in terms of like synchronicities and the animals bringing me messages. So yeah, to answer the question, definitely the Scorpio moon fasts are a lot more profound and kind of mystical than the 24-hour dry fast, if that answered the question.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And, you know, I love how you say Breatharian training. It sounds like Jedi training. You know, Jedi Master training is like Jedi, you know, Master Mace Windu, Yoda, you know, Qui-Gon
That's what it
Jinn.
is, bro. That's what it is, bro. We're training Breatharianism. Yeah, as Professor Hilton Holtamer says, yeah, you know, we've degenerated through the 5 stages: Breatharian, Liquidarian, Fruitarian, Vegetarian, and carnivoran,
or like
carnivore.
Yeah, carnivore. Yeah.
We've reached such a low point in our descent and devolution that the only way now is to go up.
Wow.
So what I'm doing with it, as I say in most of my fasting videos, I'm not just fasting for me. Yeah, every time that I fast, it's for the greater good. Because putting up a fasting video, you know, going days without food and water, people watching that, it's going to make them question themselves like, wait, hold on. Do I need all of this food? Am I being greedy? Am I a glutton? Is there more to the human being? Yeah, these people are saying that we can live on breath alone. It's going to make them think, bro. Yeah, it's going to make them question themselves and just life in general. Like, wait, hold on. Maybe there is more to the human being, you know? So, yeah, bro, the only way now is up. You know, we're in a big stage of metamorphosis individually, but on a collective level as well. There's a real shift going on at the moment. And yeah, there's a lot of, these are the days of upheaval and lawlessness. Yeah. Whatever's happening in the world, yeah, imagine a pot on the stove. Yeah, it's been boiling up. Now the lid's blown off. We're going to experience all kinds of upheaval and lawlessness. But I just want to say that it needs to happen in order for this new earth to come into fruition. Because we're en route, yeah, and whoever's watching this, yeah, we're going to see it in our lifetime, yeah, I promise you.
Wow, brother. This is a prophecy. That's a prophecy right there. You know, that's a word right there, because what you're speaking, Brother Ash, is so powerful, you know, especially just for people who are tuning in right now to this frequency that are listening to your voice and your just vibrational frequency, your energy. Because, I mean, when you're talking about, I mean, just the people all around the world that are tapping into this and coming into new levels of awareness, it's like a great awakening, you know?
It is, bro.
It's a great awakening for everybody. And we are legion, you know? We are legion, you know? It's not just one of us, it's not just a few of us, it's a lot of us out here. So
That's right.
I love what you spoke as well. And Nabiha actually echoed you, I believe. Nabiha said, messages are all around. It's if we are receptive to receive them, the universe is always communicating. You know, you hear the universe always speaks in sign language, you know?
Facts. Facts.
It's,
And, you know, if we are antennas and receivers and transmitters. If the human body is constantly just blocked up with solid, gross matter food, yeah, how can the body be receptive to energies and frequencies and, you know, cosmic vibrations? Yeah, if the body is just overloaded with food. Yeah, I think the digestive system, I think the human body spends, I think 80% of its energy on the digestive system alone. Yeah, that's mad. That is mad. How can it be open to receive anything else if 80% of its energy is focusing on digesting food? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, as Professor Hilton Holtamer says, yeah, this was a big shift for me. Yeah, something that I knew, but to read it externally, it was a big shift for me. So, you know, as we know, the human being once upon a time was of more of a spiritual nature. Yeah, as were the organs of the human body. They were spiritual organs, but as we've degenerated, they've become, as he says in the book, the body is ruled by the law of vital adjustment. So it has to adjust to bad air, bad environments, and bad practices. Yeah, so the organs have become, they've degenerated from a spiritual nature into a physical nature, dealing with physical food all the time. So when we dry fast and practice breath work, we're reverting and transforming the organs back to a spiritual nature. Do you see what I'm saying? You know, to deal with spiritual nourishment, prana.
yes, it makes perfect sense. You know, and these were all the light bulbs that were coming on, like in my mind when I was reading that book. Like, I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, it was explaining, like you said, through the law of vital adjustment. It explained, you know, the question that I feel like is still going to be debated by so many people is, what is starvation? You know, why does somebody starve when somebody is over there thriving on nothing, right? Nothing. They're thriving on nothing, but they're just surviving on nothing. Like, they're just withering away. This person is on air, but they look like they're feeding, and this person is on air, but they look like they're depleting, right? They
Yep.
look like they're constantly needing, and they're just receding into just this shape, like they're just being disheveled, like just slowly being broken down and just debilitated, right? Why
Yeah.
is this so debilitating for someone over there versus someone over there? So it explained that in the book. You know, it was talking about, you know, the law of vital adjustment. If you're used to a level of stimulation and you've set the bar, like your standard of stimulation has risen to a point, and now this is your standard, you know, to go
Yeah.
below that standard is going to be very uncomfortable. You know, it's
Yeah.
like a heroin addict who's addicted to heroin or cocaine.
Exactly.
You just immediately take them off of the, you know, the cocaine or the heroin. Is they're going to go through some withdrawals. You know, there's going to
Facts.
be, there's going to, you know, the balancing beam is going to have to go back. The pendulum that swings to the right is going to have to swing back to the left.
Exactly.
So it just made a lot of sense. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So vital
Deep book,
adjustment.
bro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Deep book, bro. Yeah. Vital adjustment. And it's not just, as he says in the book, you know, the the body will adjust to bad air. Basically, what the body does, the body's so intelligent that in order to prolong its lifespan, instead of just dying instantly from bad practices, bad environment, and bad air, it degenerates itself in order to match the environment and the habits. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know this, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, when we start doing good practices and we're being nourished by good air and we're in good environments, the body will adjust to that as well.
Right.
So it can go one of two directions.
Right. You know, this is, oh man, it's mind blowing because I had a talk with a lady and she travels the world as well. She's been to Egypt, she's been to like all sorts of different countries. And oh my God, her name is Sierra. She's a wonderful being, wonderful light being, just spreading love everywhere she goes. She just travels the world on a budget. She's big on that. And she told me one day, Brother Ash, she said, she said it occurred to her because she was raised back in like places like I think maybe Michigan or somewhere. She's from places that are big with pollution and just a lot of junk food and a lot of takeout and you know fast food and all sorts of drive-through and all the time just ordering pizzas and hot wings and all of those things. And she said, Jerome, it just hit me one day. How did I survive like for years on this food that seemingly had no nutritional value, like nothing? It was doing me no favors. She said, if I was able to survive on something that had like no nutritional value, like zero nutritional value, then I must be living on prana. You know, like that was the proof. You know, the evidence of absence is not the absence of evidence. It was like, this is the proof that we must be living on prana, because how else would we still be here? You know, I survived on ramen noodles for like 2 years, 2 years in college. I was like, I have to be living on something else, you know?
Facts, bro. Facts.
Yeah.
God.
So that's
like ramen noodles. What a strange food, man.
I mean, it's so inorganic. It's just this inorganic material. You know, when you think
it's a
about
nightmare,
it,
bro.
It's this toxic sludge that's totally inorganic. It's totally inorganic.
Yeah.
You know? And I lived on that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that just, it was a slap in the face. It's like, Jerome, wake up. You know, wake up. Wake up, you know? Wake up. Like,
yeah, bro.
I can't tell you, bro. So, man, I love what you talk about, Brother Ash, with, you know, the symbology, the symbolism of the numbers, numerology, the angel numbers as well. You know, every time I see 555, I know change is just around the corner. You know, one of my friends told me, Jerome, if you see 555, think of a bag of nickels. You know, think of a bag of nickels, because that's a lot of change. A lot of change. And whenever I see, you know, when I see 444, I'm like, tell me more. You know, when I see 444, I'm like, let's explore. You know, what is it?
Yeah.
444. So with these signs as well as astrology, because in your fasting video, I love this, in the video you talk about the solar eclipse in Aries, and you talk about a planetary conjunction in Pisces. Now, these are like powerful things that not a lot of people really understand. So I would love to hear your words on that. And in addition, just to know, when did you even get into astrology? You know, when did that all come to play for you?
Sorry, what was the first question, bro? Could you remember the first question?
The first one is like, you talked about in the fasting video, the solar eclipse in Aries. You were talking about that solar eclipse in Aries. You talked about a planetary conjunction in Pisces, a planetary conjunction.
Yes.
And you were getting me fascinated in your fasting video about astrology itself. You were breaking down all sorts of astrology, the planetary alignments, and these planetary bodies that when they get in these alignments, like we have the assignment when we have this alignment, you know?
We do. So yeah, when it comes to a certain astrology that takes place, I like to honor the astrology by fasting, and in doing so, through the fast, you become more receptive to the astrology. You know, when we're clear, yeah, we'll be able to pick up these signals more. A lot of my astrology, that the astrology that I share on my channel, yes, I read astrology books. I've read loads of astrology books. Yes, I watch astrology videos, but a lot of it is intuition, and that is through fasting during, during the Scorpio moon, during the Virgo moon, the 100-hour dry fast, which the first day was to remember Malachi.
Right.
The second day was for the solar eclipse in Aries. Eclipses are all about endings and new beginnings. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. Aries equals arise, which is really and truly, that is our new year in the springtime when the sun enters Aries again. Yeah, arise. That's why in the springtime we see, the symbolism for spring is like baby bunnies and little chicks hatching out of eggs. It's a time of renewal and new life, but they've got us celebrating New Year's in the dead of winter in January. So, yeah, that was the second day, solar eclipse. The third day was what was the third day? The third day was the
planetary conjunction in Pisces.
Right. So that 6-planet conjunction in Pisces, a lot of astrologers are saying that was the end in the Hindu astrology system. They have the yugas, the ages. On March 29th, when this conjunction took place in Pisces, a lot of astrologers were saying that was the final last day of the dark age, known as the Iron Age or the Kali Yuga. So that it just made sense for me to continue the fast on that day. We got this big cosmic event going of the dark age ending. We're going into a completely new, different age. It just made sense for me to fast on that day. And once again, that was the intuition that guided me to do it.
Right. And in the video, you also said, Brother Ash, you said that 2025 is the last year of the old world. I remember you saying this. You said this is the last year of the old world.
Yes. So I literally did another video on this subject yesterday.
Okay.
So this year, 2025, we're not really in 2025, but let's just go with it for the moment. 2025, we are, so the outer planets, yeah, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, they are all changing from earth and water signs into air and fire signs. We've got Pluto, who's in Aquarius now. Yeah, Pluto, all about destruction, regeneration, transformation, power. Aquarius is an air sign. Aquarius is all about humanity and rebellion, and it's an air sign, so it's going to pertain to practices like breathwork, qigong, pranayama. So we've got Pluto in Aquarius for 20 years. Neptune just went into Aries on the 30th of March. Sorry, so that's the 100-hour dry fast. Day 1 was for Malachi. Day 2 was the solar eclipse in Aries, along with the 6-planet conjunction in Pisces. Day 3 was Neptune in Aries, and day 4 was reflection. Right. So Neptune has just gone into Aries, which Neptune is all about dreams, and Aries is all about ambition. So, like I said in my videos, you're gonna see people really kind of pushing forward now to create the reality that they want, you know, rather than just accepting a really low quality state of being and life. So yeah, we got Neptune in Aries. We've got Saturn in Aries coming up March 25th. You're gonna see more of a dismantling of societal structure and authority and hierarchy. You're gonna see more of a power shift going towards humanity. All right, so that's May 25th, and we've got Uranus in Gemini. Uranus rules science, and Uranus accelerates. So when you got Uranus going into the sign of Gemini, in the human body, Gemini rules the lungs and the respiratory system. So Uranus, yeah, going into Gemini, yeah, bro, don't be surprised if you start doing longer periods of fasting, dry fasting, yeah. That is the age we're gonna see a significant change in people that are on the Breatharian path already. It's just gonna go strength to strength. Yeah. Of course, because it's all astrological. Anything that takes place on the earth and inside of us, it's all astrological. So yeah, big one. That's the big one. Uranus in Gemini, July 7th. Yeah. I summed up that placement in my video yesterday as acceleration of Breatharianism.
Okay. So this is just an acceleration of the whole vibration.
Yep.
You know?
Yes, sir.
This is
yes,
like
sir. It's gonna be massive,
for the
bro.
whole nation, you know, the whole congregation, you know?
Yeah.
And the way you say
Yeah.
it's like a celebration. This is a celebration for real.
It is, bro. It is.
Yeah. Not only is it a recalibration, but it's a celebration, you know? So just the fact that we're here, that we're in human form, that we're able to enjoy this time and be witnessing this revelation in human form, it feels like a blessing. Like when I receive these words from you, Brother Ash, this energy transmission that you're giving us, that you're channeling, because you really go to a place when you talk about these planetary alignments and this astrology, it goes to a place that it feels very ancestral, it feels very guided, but it also feels very beyond. It's like beyond any of our, you know, traditional religions, you know, the habitual rituals, like the things that people do on the daily that, you know, have been given to us, you know, maybe from a young age. You know, I grew up in the church. I grew up with my family, very Christian. In my early years, we would go to church all the time. We'd praise Jesus. We would, you know, look up to the heaven and the sky that we would eventually be going to. And then, you know, we'd read from the scriptures, from the Bible and all sorts of stuff. Astrology was considered very secular, very demonic, very over there. Like astrology was like put down in the church that I grew up. You know, they weren't talking about the stars and the alignments and, you know, the assignment of your alignment. And they weren't talking about these zodiac signs, you know, like they weren't talking about any of that, you know? So
of course not. Of course. But astrology's making a comeback now.
Yeah.
It's going to be undeniable soon. Absolutely. You know, especially when, you know, a lot of the events that take place in the world from the powers that be, yeah, they, you know, as JP Morgan said, you know, these elite bankers, millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires use astrology. Yeah. So all of these powers that be, yeah, they can't execute their plans if they need the stars. They work with the stars, with the astrology to execute certain plans. Yeah. If they want to start wars, create wars, you know, they will use Aries and Scorpio. Do you know what I'm saying? Very warlike, aggressive signs. It's all astrological.
Wow.
You know, and if people actually stop to look into religion, whether it's Christianity, Islam, Yeah, I do so many videos on my channel about astrotheology and the astrology embedded in religion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the astrology is in all religions, all mystery schools, all secret societies. It's all there.
It's ancient.
Freemasons, Skull and Bones,
Mm-hmm.
Knights Templar, they all use it.
This is ancient. This
You
is
know?
ancient knowledge. Ancient. Wow. It's like the writing is on the wall. You know, when you say it, every time you speak about it, it sounds like a prophecy. It sounds like it's written on the wall and it cannot be changed. Like it's written, you know, this is just, we're just watching it play out, but
Yes.
it's already been written, you know?
Yes.
So, I mean, I just love your passion. I love your enthusiasm and I love your energy behind it. And especially, you know, being a fellow Scorpio, you know, us Scorpios, I don't know about yourself, brother Ash, but I know we get a bad rap. Do you get a bad rap for being a Scorpio? Because all my life, whenever somebody learned, for some reason, I don't know if people just had bad experiences with Scorpios, but whenever somebody learned my zodiac sign, my sun sign, they would run for the hills. They were gone. They were like, no, 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 I'm out of here. You
Yeah.
know, like this is not,
Yeah.
I don't want any parts of this, you know? So
It's true,
what
bro.
is it about Scorpio that's so intimidating? Like, what is it about us?
Well, bro, Scorpio's all about death. Yeah, in the Bible, Judas, the one who betrays Jesus, the Son of God, S-U-N, Judas is Scorpio. Yeah. Reason being is because when the Son of God, he gets judged by the scales of Libra, and then when he enters Scorpio, that's when he's poisoned. And in the occult world, they refer to Scorpio as the gates of hell. Hell isn't this. We've been programmed and conditioned with this idea of hell as being some fiery place with jagged rocks. Hell is winter. Yeah, everything's dead in winter. Yeah, it's just a, what's the word? Bro, the Bible is just all about the seasons and the astrology and the journey of the sun.
Huh.
Yeah, Scorpio is known as the gates of hell. Yeah, hell is winter. Yeah, when you look at nature, when the sun is in Scorpio, everything starts to decay. Yeah, that is Scorpio. That is the frequencies of Scorpio. Its poisonous effect on the sun. Yeah, the sun loses power when he is poisoned by Scorpio. Yeah, when the sun touches Scorpio, that's when nature starts to decay. Yeah, that's when all the leaves start to turn red and decay and fall. It's all astrological.
Interesting.
So yeah, that's to answer your question. That's why Scorpios get a bad rap because uh, the sun doesn't like Scorpio.
Interesting.
In astrology, we've got domicile when a planet's in its home sign. We've got exaltation when it's in its strongest sign. We've got detriment and we've got debilitation.
Wow.
When certain planets are in certain signs, they will either perform better or perform worse.
Okay. I always, for some reason, I don't know why I thought this, but I always thought it also had something to do with the sexual nature or the sensual or sexual energy of the Scorpio itself, because we can be very intense. We can be we can love very hard and we can do the opposite very hard. Like we can, like
Yes,
if we feel a sense of like betrayal, it can be poisonous. Like it can be venomous. That tail
absolutely,
can sting. That
absolutely.
tail can sting. Like we can feel, we can hold on to grudges. We can really hold on to stuff. And I've felt it in my life. I mean,
Yes,
does that have
bro.
anything to do with it?
Yeah, to do with.
Like the dynamic of the Scorpio itself with just that intense, sexual energy or that drive, that intensity, or just, I've never heard what you said before. This is all new to me about, the withering away, the winter, and that the sun is weakened in Scorpio and that the sun doesn't like. I never heard that. I never heard
It's
that.
literally, it's literally poisoned and stung
Wow.
by the scorpion.
Wow.
and that's when it loses its power, and then obviously that has an effect on the earth.
Okay.
So so yeah, to answer your question about regarding the sexual nature of the scorpion, in the human body, all 12 signs will rule over a system of the body. 12 signs of the zodiac, 12 systems of the human body. Yeah, that's why in the Bible, 12 disciples, 12 apostles, 12 tribes of Israel, 12 sons of Jacob. It's all 12 signs of the zodiac. Yeah, Aries, off the top of my head, Aries rules the central nervous system. Gemini rules the respiratory system. Leo rules the cardiovascular system. Scorpio rules the generative system. Yeah, the sexual organs. So for us on our journey, yeah, it sounds like you've been there where you've just had an overactive sex drive. Yeah, it's all astrological. That is the lower nature and the lower expression of the scorpion, which is why in astrology, Scorpio is symbolized by the scorpion, then the eagle, and then the phoenix. Yeah. So in Scorpio's more exalted form, we become the eagle, you know, soaring above, you know, rising to new heights. And then the phoenix is just the, you know, we're born out of the ashes of the old and resurrect into a more glorious, beautiful new bird.
Right.
So yeah, yeah,
Oh, man.
definitely Scorpio, you know, each sign has its trials and tribulations to overcome. Lust and just a hyper sexuality, that is our hurdle to overcome.
Yeah,
which I believe yeah, it sounds and feels like you've overcome that now. So salute, my bro.
I mean, those were some of the biggest for me over the years. Like I was so ignorant, you know, to the level of energy, you know, just the level of that energy flowing in that direction, just the generative energy, like you said, the generational energy. So this is very validating, you know. Thank you for saying that, because I really appreciate you breaking that down systematically on the Scorpio and just really just bringing back a lot of clarity for me, because there was a disparity for me a long time ago. I just didn't understand. I was like, what is wrong? What is it? You know, like I can't control, you know, like I didn't choose this, but you know, they were making it seem like it was a conscious choice for me to be a Scorpio. Like I just made that decision, you know? So thank you for that validation. And
My
just
pleasure, bro.
man, thank you, brother. You know, and
My
just
pleasure. Thank you,
one of
bro.
the last things that I wanted to ask you, you talked earlier, Brother Ash, about the dreams that people are bringing into fruition during this time. And you so eloquently put in your fasting video on the 100 hours dry fast, you said manifestations in the dream world. You talked about first there's intention, then visualization, and then action that equals manifestation and fruition. So I liked how you broke that down. You said intention, visualization, action equals manifestation. So can you just tell us, you know, how people, if somebody's listening to this, what should they be paying attention to? What should they be doing in their life if they really want to make their dreams into a reality? You know?
You have to have there needs to be intention behind it. That, you know, that is the driving force behind anything. If there's no intention, yeah, that nothing's gonna happen.
Right.
So there needs to be intention, there needs to be strong willpower, dedication, tenacity, to keep on going. Yeah, with the intention, you always have to keep it, in mind. You have to visualize it. You know, when we visualize something, it already exists in the mental plane, in the dream world. We just need to bring it out of here, yeah, by, you know, action, yeah, using our hands, yeah. And it's not that these are daily steps, you know, that we have to, you know, something doesn't just pop up overnight. We have to work towards it. We have to graft and put in work. You know, we were given hands to work. You know, not just to sit around and just, you know, hope that something's going to fall into our laps.
Right, right.
You know, if things did work like that, that would be so boring.
Right.
You know? Yeah, that would be so boring, bro.
I'm
Yeah,
serious.
this is spirit.
You're right. You're right. Because we've talked about this. I've even thought about this, brother. You're so on point. You're so on key. Like, and I think even Nabiha has said this before, but you know, if you were able to look into a crystal ball and you just knew how it all was going to happen, like if you just knew how every event, how every situation, circumstance, and consequence, like how everything was going to be laid out for you, it would be boring. It wouldn't even be, you know, the journey without that unpredictability, without that uncertainty,
Yes.
without the zone of the unknown.
Yes.
You know, where
Yes.
is the journey? Where is the journey?
There's no journey. There's no learning. There's no excitement.
Right.
That just sounds that is a nightmare for me. Yeah, that is a nightmare. You just described my perfect nightmare, bro. Yeah, do you know what that sounds like? That's basically, you've just described the comfort zone, which I hate the comfort zone. Yeah, there's no growth in there. There's only decay in the comfort zone, which is why I love fasting. Yeah, because that is outside of the comfort zone. And now, when you do it consistently and frequently, you become comfortable with the uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? And then you only want more, you know?
It makes sense.
This is spiritual boot camp out here, man.
Spiritual Boot Camp 101.
Spiritual boot camp, bro.
Yes. With Brother Ash Legions, man. Spiritual Boot Camp 101. This is, oh man.
We're all in this. We're all in this. Earth is spiritual boot camp. You know, if we've incarnated on the earth, we're in spiritual boot camp to ascend the spirit and expand the consciousness. Yeah, it doesn't, and that doesn't look pretty.
Right.
Yeah, that is not pretty, but you know, it is what it is, and that is how we evolve the spirit through hard times. You know, and with hard times, there's plenty of good times and beautiful times, which that's the age that we're in now.
There's that polarity, you know, on the other side of the spectrum, there's always the yin and the yang, you know, like the light and the dark, you know.
That's right.
Man, thank you for this, brother. Thank you for this testimony. Thank you for not only your knowledge, your wisdom, you know, like the applied knowledge you put into practice, the applied knowledge through your lived experience that you're bringing forth through here and really channeling this energy transmission through your voice to us now. And just, you know, for anyone, if this is their first time seeing you, Ash, and they really have locked onto your message, they really enjoy hearing about your journey and your learnings, what are the best places for them to go to receive any of your offerings, your services? Like if you have a website or any place for somebody to go to get more of you, where should they go?
So at the moment, just for now, Instagram is Seminal Sentinel, SEMINAL_Sentinel, SENTINEL. You can find me there. I deleted all of my YouTube videos a few days ago.
Wow.
I'm going to be restarting and being more active on my YouTube channel, which is currently called The Gates of Scorpio, but I'm thinking to change it to Seminal Sentinel as well. Okay. So just for the moment, yeah, just hit me up on Instagram, Seminal Sentinel.
Seminal Sentinel. Awesome.
Yes, sir.
We'll include it down in the description of here. And thank you for spelling it out for the people who are listening on the podcast, for the people who are listening auditorially, they'll be able to hear that as well. Definitely follow Brother Ash, Seminal Sentinel. And
yes, sir.
Brother, thank you. We got to do this again. Brother. This is
bro, whenever you're ready, brother, such a pleasure, bro. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for holding space, sharing space. Bro, it's so good to connect with you, bro. Seriously, thank you.
Absolutely. Well, much love, brother. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too, family. We'll do this again soon.
Right.
Enough love, bro. Take care. Salute.